Hey, this is Jason Moss with the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance and Manufacturing News Network. We're glad you're joining us on the call today. We've got some pretty exciting things we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the Manufacturing Task Force, and this call is hosted again by the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, and our goal for this call is to be able to bring together thought leaders and manufacturers and people that have got a commitment to be able to help make a direct impact on the war and the coronavirus. I mean, guys, we're all in this thing together, and we're just trying to figure out best solutions and what resources we have available to us. I've been in this space for more years than I want to count, but running this organization since a little over 12 years. We just celebrated our 12-year anniversary. And I am still just amazed at what we can get done in the state of Georgia, what capabilities and capacities we have here in our backyard. And right now we're finding through the coronavirus and the challenges that we've seen in our supply chain, we're beginning to see some pretty significant holes in some of the things that, you just can't plan for a lot of this stuff. I mean, who knew that we would go into a worldwide pandemic? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can plan for, but I don't know of anybody that's quite prepped for this yet. So what we're doing is we're putting this call together to be able to, again, to identify the companies and the people that are committed to figuring out a way to put in place and the resources that they've got access to. Now, there is the governor's office. We announced this call actually back Wednesday or Thursday, 2 weeks ago. Kim with Okabashi reached out to me. I probably had 50 companies reach out to me and say, "Hey, we want to help. We want to support the cause. How can we play a role?" And Kim wrote me a really great email, kind of picked my brain a little bit. We've toured their facility. If you guys don't know Kim yet, you'll have an opportunity to meet her today. But she wrote and said, "Hey, we got some resources. I think that we could make a difference. How do we connect the dots?" So we decided we were going to put this task force together. So we announced it on Friday. We launched our call on Monday. The governor's office reached out to us and said, "Hey, we want you to help support our focus in gathering these resources." And so all of that to say, we have a webpage again, and you guys have probably seen it. It's manufacturingtaskforce.com, and that's the landing page that you can go to, and you can find all of the updates of what's needed. What the governor's office has identified is direct needs for supporting primarily the healthcare in the state of Georgia as it relates to the coronavirus. Now we've got those resources, the products and the materials that are really needed, in demand right now. That list is still there. And then below that, you'll see a form that we put together so that if you've got things that you'd like to contribute or you've got access to resources, we want you to fill that information out. Now, we have a form on our webpage, but also we're directing people to the governor's website as well. And I'm going to share my screen just a second, and I'll show you. Hold on a second. We got one more person coming in. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can kind of see how to navigate through some of this. Stand by. There you go. Share that. And so this is the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance webpage. This is just the foundation homepage that you'll run into. If you go to manufacturingtaskforce.com, it will take you to this page. Okay, hold on just a second. Manufacturingtaskforce.com. It'll take you to this page. And this page is basically just kind of a recap of what's going on. The governor's office announced through a press release and a press conference that they've put together a web page, and you'll see it here. There's a link on the page. It's the first paragraph on this page, georgia.org/COVID-19 response. If you go to this page, it'll open up basically a form, and it asks you for all of your contact information, what supplies that you've got in inventory or what can you produce, and just fill out that information there. I did have somebody ask me, it says, "Are you have already discussed with a state agency about supplying any of these items?" Somebody put my name in there. We're not with the state. We're not connected to any government, component at all. We're just we're an industry association supported by our members and our sponsors. So we're not connected to the state. Some folks put my name in this when they submitted their form, and that's cool. But you can go either way with that. But we do want you to go to this webpage. As a manufacturer or distributor, if you've got any of these resources, this is the first place that you go. Once you complete that, we are asking that you can come back to this page secondarily if you just want to kind of keep a check on things, and fill out the same information here. I hate that it's redundant, but what we found is we want to make sure that we're able to sort of keep check on the status of these applications. I do know I talked to some folks at the governor's office today, and they said that what they're doing and what's taking a little bit of time is they're having to go through and vet every one of these applications to make sure that the companies that are listed really, are real companies, and they're not like Chinese companies, masquerading as something else. But this way, they know that they've qualified all that. We're not going to get into the qualifications of any of that. What we're going to do is just gather the information and then share it back with the Department of Economic Development, which is the group that's been tasked to gather this data. Okay, so hopefully that squares away kind of who's who and what roles we're playing. But I do know that there's been some folks that have sort of reached out and hadn't got a lot of feedback yet, and so we want to make sure that, again, the only reason we're doing this is make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, because when manufacturers come to me and say they want to help, we're going to figure out a way to make it happen one way or the other. Okay. So with that said, what I want to do is I want to open it up real quick for Kim. If you would share with us, tell us who you are again, what your company is, and what kind of resources have you guys got available, and have you been contacted by the state at this point? Has anybody reached out to you about, playing a role in combating the coronavirus? Stand by just a second. No, I'll unmute you. Hold on, we got you. All right.
Okay. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So, hey everybody, my name is Kim Falkenhayn. I'm the president over here at Okabashi Brands. We are a footwear manufacturer in Beaufort, Georgia. We make a couple different brands, as well as some contract manufacturing here in Georgia. And we immediately started looking into what could we be doing that could be helping everything going on, help our first responders, help our healthcare workers, and everybody else who has to continue to be on the front lines and working to keep society going while we're getting through this pandemic. So we have been trying to mobilize, whether that is distribution, kitting, anything that we can do that we have the resources, we have personnel, we have assembly lines and so forth that could just be kind of turned over to be doing different tasks during this time, since, as you might imagine, a lot of our regular orders have been put on hold to some degree, because as important as I think flip-flops are, and we all love flip-flops, they're not the most important thing to get out to people at this exact moment.
Yeah, but they're really cool flip-flops, though. They're really cool.
They are great flip-flops, but understandably, some of our biggest retailers like Target are prioritizing necessities that people need. And, I think we're all stocked up on toilet paper, at least I hope, but there are still things that, day-to-day things that people need to get into the store. So they're prioritizing food, paper products, anything related to healthcare to get in the stores, and just temporarily putting a delay on things like apparel, which makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So we have just been reaching out to all different organizations to understand what place we can play and how we can help with the resources we have, because we have a lot of trained personnel. They generally are, whether injection molding or fulfillment, working with our own products, but they could easily switch to another different product. That, or even getting an understanding, and this is a question I'd like to ask the group here, essential services, because that can be a lot more than just hand sanitizer or masks that everybody's thinking. It could be communications equipment. It could be things that hospitals need. It could be parts that go into the ventilators, not the, not the entire ventilator themselves. So I have started to hear about some people, companies receiving letters stating that they have been identified as a critical supplier to another business that received an essential business designation. And I don't know that this has been standardized at either a state or a national level to any degree. So I was just curious to understand, has anybody else started to see these letters, hear about it from anybody else in your supply chain?
Mhm. Well, Kim, I'll take that on the front end. I've had several companies reach out to me and let me know that they were identified as, like you said, the uh, essential businesses. And what we found was that um, letters are being sent out, especially in the food and beverage industry is a big area. Medical devices. I actually had a company that does metal finishing said that they were identified by one of their suppliers, one of the customers manufactures medical equipment, and it needs to be powder coated, and that powder coater has to be part of the supply chain, and if that piece is missing, then they can't finish their products. So it's really interesting to see how those pieces connect. I reached directly out to the state and asked about getting letters, because if you're deemed an essential part of the supply chain, then your employees need to come in. Bluebird Bus, for an example, they manufacture buses for the police, the military, corrections. Even they don't do them just for schools, but they are classified as that. And so in some areas they had to have letters to be able for their employees to get back and forth to work. I have requested from the state a sample or an example of that, but I hadn't got any of that yet back. As soon as I do, I'll post it on this webpage and we'll share that information. So that's a great question. And you got to kind of evaluate, and you mentioned, I think when we were talking a little bit earlier before the call, depending on what county you're in, there are shelter in place and, or stay at home orders that are given. And some of your employees are, in different parts of the state. And I mean, it's a little bit tricky trying to figure out how we can stay in compliance, but also, what we need to do to maintain our production if we can. So, but I will, as soon as I get some samples and examples, I'll definitely put that. And guys, if you got, again, this is an open call. We want to, share with us if you've got some comments. We'd love to have you add as well. Anybody that's experienced that or has to develop the letters or receive those saying that you're part of essential business supply chain.
I see a couple of questions down there
Okay.
on the chat.
All right. Cool. If you can see any of those you can pick up and run with, go right ahead.
All right. Go down here. So, oh, I see. So Bobby Dodd Institute has received a letter for a government. Okay, so you've also received a letter. I saw the one the first time. My husband has a business, makes outdoor products, but he also does some contract CNC work, and he received that letter because one of his customers makes communication equipment. And so that's where, I started thinking about this. Is this something that is being kind of coming from the top down? And then how do you then identify and work if you have employees living, for example, in an area that has a stay-at-home order, but your actual business is not located in one of those areas, and sort of working through the logistics if you know that your business has that essential business designation. So I don't have all the answers. Just some questions, and hoping to hear a little bit more about how everybody else is handling this. We are still running our warehouse and distribution, which were identified by Gwinnett County as being exclusion. So we're still operating that part of our business to fulfill orders going to CVS, Walgreens, and some other key retailers who will continue to be open because of their pharmacy designation.
Okay, perfect. And we did put up on the webpage under the news page a link to the federal. I'm gonna switch back over that so you guys can see that as well. Let me see. We'll switch to this one. Under the news tab, there was some questions about what's considered essential business. there is a link to critical infrastructure. Now, this is at a federal level. So again, where the state and federal overlap and what your county considers critical infrastructure, I don't know, but I know that this is the critical infrastructure page that talks about specifically manufacturing. So feel free to go through that. That's another resource that we've made available there. Okay, perfect. Good deal. All right. And so thank you, Kim. I really appreciate your input and insight and great questions. We're going to try to get as much of those answered, and we, although we're trying to classify these calls in different primary roles, we'll do an HR call tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, we're going to do one on legal. And then 10 o'clock on Thursday, we'll do one on finance. But we're going to share as much information as we can, and sometimes the information is going to cross platform. So just be kind of be okay with that. But and I wanted to open this call up real quick to Amanda Gray with Georgia Expo. Amanda, can you hear us? Okay. All right, going once, going twice. Amanda, can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you yet.
Looks like she's on mute there.
She could be on mute. This is a little tricky, unmuting somebody on the phone. I was cautious to do that, but I'm going to anyway. Hey, Amanda. No, that didn't work. Amanda, can you hear us? Going once, going twice. Okay, so maybe Amanda will ping back in just a minute. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this up to Thomas and Mike Smith. And Thomas and Mike Smith are with JNS Chemical. And they've got some great insights on some things that maybe they can bring to the table as well. So if you would, either of you guys, Thomas, if you want to pick this up, go ahead and unmute. And Mike, you can as well. That way you guys can kind of both be on the line at the same time. We'll ask a few questions and see if we can answer a few things that are out there.
Yeah, sure. Hey, hi, everyone. I'm Thomas Smith, and I represent JNS Chemical. We're in Cherokee County in Canton. And we are manufacturing in-process lubricants that we mostly sell to the automotive industry. And from all the assembly plants are been shut down or announced shutdowns, and then it kind of trickles down to the tier 1, tier 2 suppliers that are now shut down also. And but a lot of them are retooling. I'm sure maybe you've heard from the news, retooling some of their assembly lines, some of their manufacturing to support this case for manufacturing some of the ventilation equipment and things like that for to combat the COVID-19. So some of our some of our customers are actually supplying medical devices already. So I guess to answer or maybe shed some light on maybe Kim's question, we kind of consider ourselves unofficially essential business because without our in-process chemicals, lubricants, they can't manufacture and they can't make the medical devices required. And we're also working with Jason also on trying to manufacture the waterless hand sanitizer. And that's been a little bit challenging for for raw material shortages because as that's it's kind of in a peak demand right now, but there's a raw material shortage also. But yeah, Mike, if you want to come online too, and you could speak a little bit more about the hand sanitizer. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I got you. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago, we were obviously hit with this coronavirus, and we're thinking, what could we do to support the community? It's something we always try to do, and using our current capabilities. And as Thomas had mentioned, some of our suppliers, the one that are non-essential, they're starting to shut down for 2 weeks, and so it gave us excess capacity. And it's completely in our wheelhouse to make hand sanitizer. That's what we do. We make liquid lubricants, and so we have a 64,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Canton, Georgia. We're capable of handling class 3 red labels, so we have a specific room made to handle flammable liquids like that and bulk offloading. And we have 1,000-gallon sanitary tank that we could, keep supplying our customers who are not shut down. And also we supply around the globe too. So our Asian markets are still going full force. China's kind of recovered from a little more than the United States. We're just getting hit with it now. And then we have a full lab. And so we could, without changing anything with our shifts, without, adding tanks, we could produce 3,000 gallons of hand sanitizer immediately. And so, we're kind of looking for support from the Georgia Alliance or other manufacturers of, where to distribute this, maybe the hospitals, truck drivers, also, other manufacturers who are critical to this process. And so we kind of have everything put together on the procurement. We're working on procurement right now. We're working, on the manufacturing and the quality control and the formula. That's all taken care of. We just need to know who needs it and how to get it to them. That's really where we're at with this.
Okay, perfect. And you've reached out. Tell me again now. The actions you've taken. I know you reached out to us a while, probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and that's again one of those, like Kim's call. One of the reasons that prompted us to put this page together and put this task force together. What else have you done as far as trying to get connected?
Yeah. So really, this is really our starting point. I mean, we're kind of taking it in two approaches. There's a business side to this whole thing, and we got to procure the raw materials. So we're reaching out to all our suppliers, and we're trying to find isopropyl alcohol, or you can use a denatured ethanol. So we're reaching out to suppliers. We're preparing our laboratory with the alcohol meter, for proper quality control and proper titration. So we're preparing the internals, and we just got some pails, about 20 gallons of isopropyl alcohol. And so now we're making a batch in the lab, and then we'll get more raw materials, and then we will scale up if this makes sense. And so we're trying to put the business side together, and at the same time work with you guys and other manufacturers on that other side of it. And that's kind of where we're at. We, Thomas, do you want to speak to reaching out to your contact? Toby?
Yeah, I was going to say our first step to kind of set this off was, we work with the Georgia Department of Economic Development quite often, and they help us with identifying targets overseas and exports and things like that.
Sure.
If nobody, or if some of the group here exports and they're not hooked up with one of those people, I highly suggest hooking up with that Georgia Department of Economic Development. They have a lot of great resources, and they've been very helpful for us over the last, 8 years. We've been connected with them and working. We've got a great relationship with them. But our first stop was to check in with them and to see what kind of resources they had, or identify, who we should kind of, target with some of this. And then, they turned us on to you, actually, Jason, and your team. And, we submitted the form online that was on your site that you just showed about 5 minutes ago. And then also they sent us another email later with the state, the Georgia Department state form that we also completed. So those are kind of the two, or I guess the three steps that we've done. And, we're keeping her in the loop, even though, she kind of said it's kind of more of a federal type thing right now. And she's kind of limited with some of her resources. But yeah, going back to, what Michael was talking about with some of these raw material shortages, the Georgia Department of Economic Development have access to import-export databases.
Right.
So, with using that, we were able to, they sent us a report of all of 2019, all the imports from overseas for this isopropylene alcohol. So we could identify who's buying it, the quantities they're buying, and then go after them for our supply chain.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at now. And yeah, like Michael said, kind of prepping internally to scale this thing up. We've already made a laboratory batch in the laboratory. We're getting QC quality control equipment and isolating, tanks. And then we already have some raw materials coming in. But we're just a little bit short on some key raw materials to make really large batches that we could, really start pushing to some hospitals and things like that.
Right. And I appreciate that input, Thomas. We want to make sure, again, our elected officials and all of our government organizations are working like mad, trying to put these pieces together. And we want to, our initial intention was to build the database and just toss it over the fence to the team that could have an impact on it. Sort of midstream, they said, well, we're going to do this as well. And again, we've found a couple little spots where, there's people that have submitted data but hadn't got any feedback at all from the state. And that's a little bit concerning on my side. When somebody brings something to me and says, I want to help, I want to make sure they're able to help. Right. And so this is, again, to run in parallel with what the state's doing. We just want to make sure that there's no gaps and nobody falls through the cracks. If there's something, if there's critical infrastructure, if there's resources that are available, we're going to make sure that we as an organization help connect as many dots as we can. Again, we want to, those folks that are, again, our elected officials and the governmental or agencies, they're doing everything they can, but they're probably a little bit understaffed and a little bit overwhelmed, I would imagine, with all the stuff that's going on, and they can't help it. But we're going to try to assist every way that we can. Part of the reason that I wanted to do this call is to help be able to make connections. And Joe, would you, I'm mute your line. I'd love for you to share what you shared in the notes there. Stand by just a second. Okay, go ahead. Can you hear us? I don't know if we can hear you. Can you hear? Okay. We're not getting any audio on your side. I'll read back through the notes. I don't know if you guys can see the notes over there, but the Bobby Dodd Institute is looking for sanitizer in bulk. We use it to supply our government contracts with FAA, Army, and Air Force buildings. So we'll make sure that those can you hear? Okay, sounds like
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got it now. Yep.
All right, perfect, good. Yeah, so we're a local nonprofit here. We have 4 offices and warehouses spread throughout Atlanta. We service the adults with disabilities community as well as those with disadvantages and veterans. We have a lot of state and federal contracts ranging from our warehouse work, picking and packing, logistics and fulfillment. We also have a large janitorial custodial business along with landscaping. We like I said, we service a lot of the federal and state buildings. They are short on sanitizer, so I've actually been looking for the past couple of days and contacting distilleries to buy sanitizer in bulk. So it's fancy you guys bring that up. And then also we got connected with GMA just to see how we can assist using our warehouses and our current labor pool. We don't do manufacturing per se, but we can do packaging, we can do assembly, we can do a lot of the other things, and we have warehouse space. And you get the double whammy of employing people with disabilities, as well as supporting our programs and services on the other end of it.
Fantastic, Joe. I really appreciate that, and appreciate the offer for your warehouse and assembly sources as they come. As we find the needs and kind of put these pieces together. So Mike and Thomas, I hope you guys and if you'll notice over in the chat window, if you're not real familiar, again, I'm trying to step back every time we do these calls and make sure that people are getting a little bit more familiar with using the Zoom platform. If you take your mouse and kind of hover down towards the bottom of the screen, a little menu will pop up. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see a speaker. If it's got a line through it, that means you're muted. If it's got a line through the little camera, that means your video's off. If you click either of those, it'll toggle them back the other way. But also down on the bottom, there's a little bubble that says chat. It's got 3 little dots in it. So you feel free anytime to click on that, share a note, if you got a question or any information you want to share. But Mike shared his email address. So feel free to Joe, reach back out to those guys, and let's make this connection, because again, we want to hear the challenges and some of the things we're running into, but we also want to hear the successes when we're able to pair these things together and find a solution for somebody. Guys, that's why we exist, is again sharing best practices and connecting with each other. Those are the key things. So and Amanda, are you able to unmute now? Are you clear? We'd love to have you join us as well. You got some really cool stuff going on at Georgia Expo. All right, going once, going twice. I'll brag on Amanda.
I think she might have put something in the chat.
Okay. I'm gonna brag on Amanda just a little bit. She was one of the early people that teed in as well, and said that, hey, we're here, we're ready to help. And Amanda did a really cool video on LinkedIn. That's how we got connected. Now, they're a member of GMA. We were already lined up to be touring their facility very soon. But Amanda, they do pipe and drape. So Georgia Expo, if you've ever been to a trade show expo, that's kind of where that's about. But they do pipe and drape, and they do the fabric and the metals that hold all that. And it's really cool that she reached out. But let me see, marketing. Okay. Stand by just a second. Jesus, marketing. I think unmuted. Yeah, I might have unmuted Amanda Brandon last time. Sorry about that. But their company, again, they've got 20 people with commercial sewing machines, commercial sewers that know what to do with them. And it's really cool that they've stepped up to volunteer to manufacture a wide variety of things, including masks. But what they're doing now is they're getting a lot of federal calls for being able to do these pop-up hospitals. So they're using these curtains, these pipe and drape, to make hospital, basically, hospital rooms, and which is a genius idea. I guess that's just how they do it. But she said they are covered up right now. They're turning out a lot of volume. But one of the things that was most, interesting for me was nobody from the state of Georgia has reached out to them, and they've got capacity, they've got capability. And while they have availability, I think that the state, if they hadn't done it yet, last I talked to her, she hadn't got any communication from the state of Georgia. We've got these things right here in our backyard. I would encourage somebody, if there's somebody from the state that's watching this now live or following up, that you reach out to Georgia Expo and let us know that you've made that contact, so we can mark that one off the list, that at least we know that the line of communication is open. There's another company that came on board that does ventilators. Believe it or not, there's a company in Norcross that manufactures ventilators, and they had 40 of them on the shelf. And it just blew me away that nobody from the state of Georgia, they were getting calls from all over the country. And I said, put those dudes on hold. I'm not going to give you my credit card number, but I'll find somebody that'll talk to you. And we ran that through a different channel, right? And as a result, they were able to get direct communication with the decision makers. And I don't know exactly how that turned out, but I do know that they got a conversation in play. And again, that's why we're keeping this system running in parallel with what the governor's office is doing. So if you got things, you're not getting response on them, I don't know that I can ring that bell any harder, but I know that I will do my dead level best to make sure that the right people get the right communication. So and again, I wish I could say that all of this thing is running smoothly. It's not yet. I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think we just need to be patient. We need to work with each other. We need to commit to making sure that we're keeping the right thing and serving our community. And I can't tell you how proud I am of the manufacturing industry and you folks being on this call to step up to say you want to help. That it does a heart good, to see folks that are committed to making a difference. So again, you're doing the right stuff, and we're going to make sure that we connect as many dots as we can. So I've talked a bunch. I want to open this up and see if there's any other folks that want to chime in on the call. All right, Miss Joy Duncan. Hey, Joy. Share with us and tell us what's going on in your space.
Hey there.
Hey.
I'm working from home, but we've got staggered schedules, and we're still open, and we do some services. And I saw I've got Bobby Dodd on with us. Of course, we serve people with disabilities too and do the same thing. We've got about 16 lines set up for assembly, kitting and things of that nature. We do still have some companies that are using us that are still open.
Mhm.
We exclusively ship on Amazon orders for one company. So that's been interesting for us to stagger shift and keep a couple of people in at one time. And so we're grateful to still have some business. My office manager's in today, but I've been at the office every day.
Right.
Except today. But yeah, we're trucking along. We are making some, we don't have as many sewers as the Georgia Expo and some others, but we do have commercial sewing machines. We also do some sew some drape and do some pipe and drape for a couple of maybe her competitors for Your Event Solutions and some others. But really, we're making some face masks right now for a company that is a CBD oil company, but actually they're making a lot for just to give away.
Okay.
So we're going to be making some of those, and then I may let you guys know when they're available. I think we're going to have to do it with cotton, but there is charcoal layer in between. So not sure if what it will qualify for, maybe for staff or other things, but I'll keep you updated on that. We start sewing, we're still finishing the bill of goods, but we start sewing on Thursday,
Okay.
those masks. So
Wow. That's
we're
cool.
we're trucking along.
Pulling the pieces together. And you guys,
Yep.
did you file both on the GMA
I
database
have
and the state one as well?
I did not,
Okay.
because as we had a lot of capacity,
Right.
we got these other orders in, and I didn't wanted to make sure that we were going to know
Sure.
what we were able to provide.
Yep.
So as soon as I know, which will be tomorrow,
Right.
what that capacity is, I'll post it.
Yep.
So
Well,
thank you.
That's fantastic. Again, you just want to make sure that we're connecting as many of the dots as we can. All
Good,
right.
thank
Cool. Any other manufacturers that are online with us like to share kind of what's shaking in your space? Going once. Miss Kim, like to open it up for you as well. Is there any ideas or anything that's come to mind that you'd like to share with us on the manufacturing front, on the supplier side? Hold on just one second. Got it, I think. Okay, hold on one second. I'm gonna unmute your line. Stand by. I'm gonna try to unmute your line. I guess I'm not pressing it hard enough. Or we might be doing the door lock thing. I'm hitting it. I'm gonna leave it. You can hit unmute. Okay, you're good. Now you're still muted. That's weird. There you go. Now you're good.
Am I good now?
Yes.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we were doing the door lock thing.
Accidentally muting and unmuting each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So other things, we've been trying to look into possibly footwear for the healthcare industry. I guess one of the biggest unknowns out there is how long of a timetable we're looking at, and that would help us to understand the supply chain and how many of items are going to be needed. So I mean, we're all kind of in the same boat with not knowing exactly how long this is going to go on. I think we all expect that there's the potential for it to get more restrictive before things start opening back up, but nobody really has a crystal ball. So, we're really looking for any opportunities at all to reach out and support the people who we know are going to be on the front lines and working a lot of extra hours, even if that means doing warehousing or distribution for anybody else who is in the area and needs overflow capacity because you're doing so much, because there is so much demand. So I don't have any other really exciting things that have happened in the past week, but we're definitely out there pounding the pavement looking to see any way at all that we can help the community at large.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, we are going to be doing, and I did have a note here in the Zoom, in the notes here, or the chat box. Somebody had asked about, are these calls going to be available for the Manufacturing News Network subscribers? What we've done, just so you know, if you were a subscriber to the when we first set this up, we set it up so that the roundtable calls would be really for a subscriber base. We're going to eliminate the subscriber base, and all of these calls are going to be open, and we're inviting folks from all over. So if you were a subscriber, we thank you for your subscription. We're going to cancel the renewal on that, but we are going to have one heck of a subscriber party once we get the all clear. So just be ready for that. It's going to be fun. So thank you for your support in that. But we have decided organizationally that we're going to just have these things open. We're going to make sure that everybody that wants to be able to be on these calls or be able to join and give some input. So right now the call lineup, Monday at 10 o'clock is a town hall. It's open for everybody. Monday at 2 o'clock is the task force, which is the call that you guys are on. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the topics are going to rotate, and we're going to host those at 10 o'clock. And then on Friday, we're going to have a fun Friday. And we already did one. We had one fun Friday already.
Yep.
And we're going to have another one coming up at 4 o'clock on Fridays. So it's a BYOB, and it's a chance to let your hair down, what hair you got left. For some of you guys, got a little more now. Yeah, Joe wins. But it is a fun time for us to get to know each other and just kind of have a social piece. So but that's kind of the game plan. So we're going to do a total of 6 calls throughout the week, 2 on Monday, the rest is 1 a week. We're going to be updating those on the calendar of what the topics are, and we are going to try to stick kind of we're going to try to focus on the specific part of the call. So tomorrow it's going to be on HR. Wednesday is going to be on legal. So our buddies from Taylor English are going to come on board. They got a whole group of attorneys that are going to be giving us different things to think about as business owners in this space, our business leaders. And then on Thursday, it's going to be finance. And so that's the stack for this week. But next week, the topics are going to rotate into different things based on what you guys ask for, what you're looking for. That's that's kind of how we're going to tee that up. So with that, I'm going to open up to Thomas and Mike. What other, actually, Henry, it looks like you got your hand up. Go ahead and unmute. Stand by. Yeah, we can't hear you yet. Nope. So just put it in notes, I guess, because we still can't hear you on that. Fire it over notes, and I'll take a look down in notes. All right, Mr. Thomas and Mike, you would open up, share with us a little bit about what you guys got shaking. What are your thoughts for as we're wrapping this call up?
Yeah, so some other ideas that we have, the isopropyl alcohol, we could make that. We could get that. We're about 5 weeks out on getting that. Other ideas that we could do, the FDA, they put out new guidance on March 25th, and the distilleries started making hand sanitizer, and they're making 100% ethanol, and the FDA put guidance out to not allow that, which makes the supply side even less. And what's required by the FDA is a denatured ethanol, which adds methanol. Because otherwise, ethanol, the hand sanitizer, you could drink it. So it's kind of a safety concern selling hand sanitizer with 100% ethanol. So we're really going to look to procure the denatured ethanol, or we can get methanol and then work with distilleries possibly and use their ethanol to make our own denatured ethanol. And then that would give us the correct supply chain to start making the hand sanitizer. So that's kind of something, that's really what we're looking into on the procurement side. We're trying to find, our capabilities are really unlimited. What we do is much more complicated than making hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
So we actually react silicone. So we're doing reaction chemistry. And so we're really just trying to be creative, trying to use our community, and work together with our community is what I should say to solve the problem and the need that's out there that we're all fighting and facing together. And so I think next week, we'll have a lot of good updates, I hope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, we've been at this for, I don't know, almost just about 2 weeks now.
Okay.
So we haven't, and I guess really we've kind of geared up, after our first call with you, Jason, we really kind of kicked it up another gear and, started to find, sources for some of these raw materials and setting up our quality control lab and, making small lab batches and
right.
some of these things. So, We started 2 weeks ago, but we're really, almost 1 week in it. So, a lot could happen when we all work together and really, really try to kick something out with a common goal. So
Right.
we're excited about this.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. We're excited to work with you on it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you had mentioned, we typically don't package in small type packages. So, eventually there might be a need for you to hook us up with a, automated package bottler in small quantities. Cause, we're only set up for the smallest 55-gallon drums, so.
Yeah, that'd clean a lot of hands, 55-gallon drum. And I'm real cautious about who I introduce you to, because I don't want the alcohol that's manufactured in Georgia to be impacted too much by making hand sanitizer. Just kidding. Just kidding. I like cleaning from the inside out, whatever we got to do. So we got to keep a balance in there.
Our alcohol prices go up, beers through the roof.
That would be scary. That would be scary. You got to be careful what we do there. Okay, guys. Well, this is why we do what we do. Now, typically what we do is we go around the room and we ask everybody, what their favorite part about the day is. We don't have the capability or the time really to do that and get everything done on time. But there's one other thing that we do is we always wave at every event that we do. We smile and wave. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to smile and wave. Stand by, smile, smile and wave, smile and wave. I got everybody 1, 2. All right, cool. So what we're going to do, just so you know, is for us to be able to communicate this, we're going to post that picture and a link back to this video on our webpage. So we're going to put this on as a blog on our webpage. We'll put the image and some of the notes of what were covered on the call on that page, and we're going to tag that in LinkedIn so people can reference back to the video and see what we talked about, kind of see who is here. But what my request is that you like the comment that we put on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and then you share what your favorite part about this call was. What was your takeaway? What does the community need to know about what we as GMA are doing and we as a community are doing? I mean, guys, I am, like I said, I am so excited about this. I can't stand it. Y'all's commitment and stepping up in a big way to have an impact on trying to hammer down this COVID-19. That's a big deal, and so I commend you guys for stepping up in that way. I do want to make sure that we continue to work together. Plan on being back on it. Put the reminder on your Outlook to come back to this call. I'll put a new post on it because we have to do it every week. So I hadn't figured that out in Zoom yet, but we'll get there. But make sure that you share this around. Let folks know that we can do this. We will pull through this as a nation and as a community, but we need to be working together and supporting each other in any way that we can. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, we'll wrap this call up. Thank you again so much for your time and your commitment, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next call tomorrow at 10 o'clock if you're able. See you there, guys. Thanks.
Thanks.